All right. Hello and welcome to Daily Space for today, January 29th, 2019. Yeah, it's been quiet. All right, hold up. I'm going to redo that because my brain obviously has not had enough coffee. All right. Hey, hello and welcome to the Daily Space for today, January 29th, 2020. I am your host, Annie Wilson. Most Mondays through Fridays, our team will be here putting science into your brain. Usually Wednesdays are for Rocket Roundup, and it's actually been a pretty quiet week with only 2 launches, which means I have time to share a couple of space flight related updates with you. Let's get to it, shall we? So first up is one of the launches that didn't get a whole lot of news, but still counts as a launch. On January 27th at 1:40 p.m. UTC, a Canadian-made Black Brant 9 sounding rocket launched from Poker Flat Research Range in Alaska. On board was the PolarNOx mission. Yesterday, Dr. Pamela spoke about how cold temperatures can create dangerous conditions for spaceflight. So why in the world would someone choose to launch a rocket just south of the Arctic Circle in the middle of winter? You do what the mission calls for. And this mission, PolarNOx, calls for observing nitric oxide in the atmosphere in polar night. Nitric oxide is formed by aurora, which is the visual phenomenon observed when solar winds interact with our atmosphere and are best observed during those long polar nights. Nitric oxide is also really fragile and breaks down in sunlight. The principal investigator, Dr. Scott Bailey of Virginia Tech, intends to discover where in the atmosphere nitric oxide settles. To make that happen, you launch a rocket from Alaska in the middle of winter. The Black Brant 9 is a solid fuel rocket, but that doesn't mean it is impervious to the cold. That solid rocket fuel can actually crack from thermal stress. The crew at Poker Flats did take a few precautions to make sure that the extreme cold didn't negatively impact the launch, including wrapping the rocket in moving blankets and keeping the rocket inside a custom styrofoam housing with heat before the launch. I am not joking. This is what they actually did. And they did do a live cast of it, and I have bits and pieces. So, I don't know if it's actually going to queue up to where the launch is. They didn't have an instant launch window, so give me 1 second while I find it.
All right, what are we looking at here?
They're safe as they ship up here.
No, Puck.
Pucks may have come
Don't
down. And there's also onboard as well.
I do at some point
Okay.
want to get
I'm going
Dr.
to pause
Seagal.
it here. So this white thing that you see, let me get the pointer out so it's easier to see. So the white thing that you see, which the pointer's not going to work. The white thing that you see is the rocket inside that styrofoam case. Now, it doesn't launch for a few more minutes. Okay, I think that's as close as I'm going to get.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
First stage
10.
is now burned out. We should get a second stage.
Radar tracking.
We just now heard the boom here up at the range,
Second stage ignition.
and we've got confirmation of second stage ignition.
Plus 30.
I want to go ahead and pause it there. The launch really isn't much to look at. It was a night launch in extreme cold, but at least there was some video of it. Yeah, it's a pretty neat mission. This is at least the second time a rocket's been launched in support of PolarNOx. But yeah, you do what the mission calls for, and sometimes that involves heating your rocket up. Okay, on to the next thing. Get rid of my pointer here. So today, the launch that everybody knew about was this morning, for me at least. So today, SpaceX Falcon 9 launched another 60 satellites into orbit at 2:06 p.m. UTC from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. This was the third flight for the booster, which had a successful landing on the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. More good news. Ms. Tree made her third successful fairing catch. The other fairing half made a soft landing in the water and was successfully recovered by Ms. Chief. And we do have video for that. I am going to scrub to 4 different points in the video, and I'm going to take this time to remind you, A, rocket launches are loud, and B, please have some patience. Nope.
Not possible on other satellite internet systems. And because Starlink satellites fly in a global constellation, we can bring high-speed internet to places that previously had terrible service or no service at all. Some of the most exciting opportunities for Starlink.
They trimmed the video. All right, here we go.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition, liftoff.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Here she goes.
It is T plus 45 seconds, and we've just had a nominal liftoff of our Falcon 9 vehicle carrying our Starlink payload on its way to its targeted orbit. In just about 20 seconds coming up here, we will be passing through max Q.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
That is the maximum aerodynamic pressure that the vehicle will see, which is the largest structural load that the vehicle sees throughout ascent.
Burn. That is where we reignite a single Merlin 1D engine. That center engine, stage 2, as you just heard, continues on a nominal trajectory.
Stage 1.
But we do have the drone.
Stage 1 landing light deployed.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
All right, and yes. Awesome. That's the third landing of this booster. Second time landing on Of Course I Still Love You.
Falcon 9 has landed. Operators, please proceed.
Very cool. And
any
any second now, we should be seeing SECO 1. That is where that second stage engine will cut off.
Let's go way ahead. Here is the fairing half in Ms. Tree's net. They didn't publish video of it actually being caught, just this after, I'm assuming after it's been caught. And finally, I have for you, if I can find it, it's way up here.
There we go. Oh, that's gorgeous.
Back that up a little bit for you.
Look at that beautiful view. Okay, well, the one of space is awesome. The animation's cool too, but hopefully we'll get back to those live views from space.
Starlink tension rod separation confirmed.
Okay,
we'll see
we
in a
just heard the
second.
call out that separation has been confirmed. Let's see if we can get another view. That would be really cool. Here it should be coming up. There we go. Oh, that's gorgeous. That's those 60 Starlink satellites successfully separating from stage 2, and that beautiful planet there is the planet that those satellites are going to provide internet service to, which is super, super exciting. And with that brings our webcast to a close. We had a successful mission. We had a great stage 1 ascent, completing the hat trick, launching from 3 separate launch sites. We had the 3rd recovery of this booster. Stage 2 delivered Starlink to its operation, or to its targeted orbit, and as you just saw, we successfully separated those 60 Starlink satellites. So, oh, and also we caught a fairing. That's a big deal. It's super awesome, and we were able to see it in the daytime, which is even more cool. So a big thank you to the 45th Space Wing for range safety.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop it there. But yeah, it was a it was a pretty neat launch to watch. So that's all for the launches this past week. I told you it was pretty quiet. 1 suborbital and 1 orbital. So now on to the other spacecraft and spaceflight related news. Here's something that will eventually be launching from India. As some background, India does plan on sending humans to space by 2022 on their own rockets. That's rockets and craft that are designed and built in India. Rather than send up animal proxies first, like chimps or dogs or cats or rabbits or, pick something. India has decided to take advantage of technology and has created their very own robot astronaut. And here she is. This is Vyomamitra. Oof. She was unveiled last week at the Human Spaceflight and Exploration Symposium at by the Indian Space Research Organization. She is a female-presenting, half-humanoid robot. She's considered half-humanoid because she has no legs, but considering that she'll be strapped into a seat for flight tests, that really isn't a problem. During a press conference, Vyomamitra shared that she can monitor sensors, manipulate controls, recognize and respond to human astronauts, and even act as a companion to other spacefarers. My Nation, an Indian news source, goes on to report that she can speak not 1 but 2 languages. And yeah, as Starstrider is saying in the chat, welcome to the Uncanny Valley. For those of you that aren't sure what the Uncanny Valley is, that's this thing where the spot where you have something that's not human or not strictly human looking like cartoons that don't really freak you out, but the closer you get to making something look human, that can be really, really creepy until you get to the other side where it looks really, really good. So yeah, she's a good example of the Uncanny Valley, especially considering that her skin is only on her face and not on her hands. So it is a little weird to look at, but it really doesn't matter. Looks don't matter when you're in a spacecraft. So yeah, really cool. Looking forward to more news about her. But this is the Uncanny Valley in picture. Okay, finally, something that isn't going to be launching anytime soon. And if you guessed that it was the James Webb Space Telescope, you're right. And yes, it encountered another delay. The United States Government Accountability Office released its annual report on JWST yesterday. The big takeaway, JWST is most likely not going to launch in March 2021. The report basically says, look, stuff is broken, stuff will break, that takes labor to fix, and labor costs drive project costs up. There were 2 new specific technical problems in the report, and they were 2 separate components of the communication systems. Both the traveling wave tube amplifier and the command and telemetry processor experienced a power-related anomaly at the same time during testing in March and April of 2019. NASA does not believe that the 2 problems are related and treated them as separate issues. A traveling wave tube amplifier, or TWTA, is basically a vacuum tube that can produce radio waves across a wide band of frequencies and are components on most ComSats. Our resident ComSat expert Dave Ballard says that TWTAs do contain a number of small and sensitive parts, but apparently aren't very complicated. Most failures are due to power issues or degradation from age. The processor anomaly has an unknown cause, but electrical faults were found in a couple of circuit cards. As far as repairs go, the TWTA was replaced, and an upgraded processor has been tested and will be the replacement for the faulty processor if it's necessary. Other known issues that might cause further delays include deficient bolts, a broken momentum flap, a faulty actuator, and potentially weak sunshield membrane retention devices. I'm only going to talk about 2 of those because, yeah, it's a lot. So the bolts. Oh my, the bolts. There are 501 deficient bolts installed on JWST that don't meet strength specifications. Testing is being performed to figure out which of these bolts absolutely need to be replaced. These bolts were found to be deficient on another Northrop Grumman project, which is probably what triggered the review of the already installed bolts. And now the actuators. There are 180 actuators that are used to deploy the sunshield, which is the layers of thin membrane to keep the observatory part of the space telescope cool. A failure of just one of those actuators prevents the whole sunshield from opening. If it doesn't deploy, JWST is dead in the water. The actuators actually have redundancies to prevent that from happening. On a test of sunshield deployment, a single actuator was fired by one mechanism instead of 2. It's not supposed to work like that. And I'm sure there will be an investigation and testing on what went wrong with that one particular actuator. In the end, regarding this report, the GAO essentially encouraged integration and testing to occur sooner rather than later because that's typically when problems are found in projects of this scale and type. And in order to get any sense of when JWST is going to be launched, the project team needs to know what's still wrong. And that's all I'm going to say about JWST. So, to wrap things up, here's a running tally of a few spaceflight statistics for the year. 0 toilets have burned up in orbit. 128 new satellites are in orbit that were launched by 6 rockets. 3 of those rockets were from China, 2 were from the USA, and 1 was from France. That's it. That's all the news I have for you today. I'm going to take this moment to ask you to type in your questions in chat. I will go back up and read them in a second. And remind you that this is a production of Planetary Science Institute. And I'm going to let the dog down. We'll go. Good job, Tink. And we'll turn the doggy cam back on, and we'll read your questions and soothe ourselves with, you know, with doggy cam and Cheerios, because sometimes that's what you need. All right, so oh my. And of course, our intro pops up with the pronunciation in chat instead of in the text. Yeah. Please connect brain directly to downlink port. Yes, I need that. Okay. Noel is amused by the PolarNOx mission name because NOx means both nitric acid or nitric oxide. I don't know why I keep saying nitric acid. It means both nitric oxide and night. So yeah, I thought that was an appropriate name too. And Rob Prince is my new favorite color commentator. I didn't show you a lot of his commentary, and he was outside during the rocket launch, but if you do really want to sit through the video, because it is still archived up on YouTube, I encourage you to do it. It's something nice to just have in the background while you're working on other things. I didn't put it into the script, but the rocket for PolarNOx was built in Canada. It was taken to Wallops, Virginia for testing and all this other stuff, and then driven back through Canada to Alaska. So, yeah. And Ark is asking, doesn't NASA have a sounding rocket station somewhere in the North Pole? This station is really just south of the Arctic Circle. It's like a degree or so south of the Arctic Circle. So it's close enough. I don't think there's really a good way to put anything at the North Pole. I don't even think we can launch rockets from the South Pole, because just getting things there is a challenge. But yeah, there are multiple NASA sounding rocket missions that do take off from Poker Flat rocket range. I think there might be another spaceport in Alaska that handles larger rockets, but Poker Flat is set up for sounding rockets. And Starstrider points out that yes, we do launch things from subs and boats, and yeah, so I guess we really don't need it to be on land, it's just we typically do it on land. May all your days be nominal, says Lap77. Indeed. Sorry, I'm still reading through looking for questions and things. Michael says, I think there should be a camera on each of SpaceX's fairing house so we can see it approaching the boat. I think it was Michael that told me earlier that they actually have steerable parachutes. So, I mean, it would be neat. It would be neat. Yeah. Yeah. Power gloves for hands. This is data. read the Viomitra. She says, Bad Panda Bear says, she can say kill all humans in 2 languages, Hindi and English. And now we're on to James Webb, and Pamela is convinced that the one image of James Webb looks like an angry spider, which it does. It does. It does look like... the joys of doing this when the mailman comes. Broken Symmetry comments that JWST looks like it's throwing its hands up in frustration. I mean, yeah. 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 DPI says, deficient bolts, you mean like those that came loose during the first shake test? Potentially. I don't know exactly... I don't know, the report doesn't say exactly. It just says that they were found deficient in another Northrop Grumman project. It didn't state whether or not those were the bolts that were literally shook off during the vibration test. Who knows? Who knows? The bolts were either mass produced or they were produced by a machine shop. And they could have used the wrong alloy. It could be an error in manufacturing, but for more than 500 bolts to be faulty, yeah, something's up. Something's up. It didn't say who the subcontractor was for any of the parts that are faulty, so it's just like, here's the main contractor. The report was like, the report was essentially an audit, and here are the problems, here's what's going on, here's what's going, tracking for cost overruns and delays and things of that nature. So Alara's like, this is crazy. Is it ultimately because of going with the lowest bidder for building it? Probably. Yeah. Yeah. I did read the entire report, so I may read previous reports. Veronica asked, did the Alaska launch shed its foam or take it with it? I think it just took it with it. It either pierced through the styrofoam or it took it with it. I don't know. Oh, Bill Nash subscribed. Hello. Hi, Tinker. You want some bits? Have some bits all to yourself. Larry asked, sorry I'm late. Did I cover IRAS and the other satellite that almost collided over Philly? I think it's almost colliding over Pittsburgh. And they're going to, I think that's tonight or tomorrow night. No, I didn't cover it, and here's why. When a member of the community showed me the story, I was already like, I'm at my deadline. I don't have time to write about it. And near misses happen all the time. Really, they do happen all the time. It's not that unusual. The unusual part is that neither one of these objects can be moved. So if they collide, they collide. There's no stopping it. There's no readjustment of satellites, which is pretty common. And it's one of those things where if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't know. I don't think they'll collide. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't want to make a big deal out of it I don't want to make a big deal out of it in case it just doesn't happen. If it happens, we'll talk about it. So, Ark asks, would it be cheaper to build the JWST in orbit and then launch it to L2 assembled on the ISS, for example? No. It's not possible. There's not enough space. There's not enough space. There's not enough testing facilities. The glass on the segmented mirror, and especially for the other little focusing mirror, that all has to be like poured and ground with gravity. So no, it's just not feasible. I'm not sure how big JWST is compared to the ISS, but I just don't think there'd be enough room. So yeah. Bill Nash asks, why haven't we worked out a deal with an equatorial nation for a launch platform? If you're talking about the PolarNOx launch, you can't do that mission from the equator. You need to be up near the pole. And B, I don't know. That's above my pay grade. That's totally above my pay grade. Would all the blankets and styrofoam fit in a sub? Not sure. I'm looking for any more. A submarine can launch a rocket at the North Pole, especially in summer when there's a break in the ice, enough nuclear missile to destroy a small nation. That's terrifying. Again, summer would not work for the PolarNOx mission. It needed polar night. It needed a really long polar night, so the Aurora had enough time to form the nitric oxide. It had enough time to settle through the atmosphere without being broken up by sunlight. Veronica asks, so should people in Pittsburgh stay indoors regarding the objects in space colliding? No, I wouldn't worry about it. I'm an hour away from Pittsburgh. I'm not worried about it. You might be able to see it from Pittsburgh with telescope or binoculars. I don't think I'm going to be able to see it from where I'm at. Bill Nash asks, how much energy would we need in an orbital laser capable of pulsing at debris hard enough to trigger thrust via outgassing? I have no idea. I am not a physicist. That's way above my pay grade. So, and Arenstra goes on to say that none of the debris, if the two objects should collide, should affect anyone in the ground. They'll just burn up in the atmosphere eventually. So, oh, apparently I am going to be able to see it at this location. I don't have binoculars, so I don't have binoculars and it's cold outside. That's my excuse. Other bits could potentially, if they collide and both parts don't deorbit and all the bits deorbit, yeah, there could be more bits of space junk, but we track all of that. There's literally tracking for all of that. And the satellites that can move will move. So I don't have a whole lot of... I don't think it's going to happen. If it happens, I'll tell you about it, but I'm not that worried about it. Anything else? You guys are really asking some of the tough questions today. Puck's just sitting by the door. Let's throw some more Cheerios at Puck. Michael says, I think only bits larger than about 10 centimeters can be tracked. I don't know enough details about that. That's pretty small. 10 centimeters for Americans is take a dollar bill, fold it into thirds, unfold 1/3. That's 10 centimeters. So, yeah, those are pretty small things, but it's not all like the micrometeorite bits or micrometeorite size or parts that can cause other problems. Broken Symmetry says has bits and arcs like, can we make it rain Cheerios again? Yeah! Make it rain! The dogs are very happy. Make it sprinkle over to the side for Tinkerbell, because Puck's a hog. So Dave says that they can track smaller than that in low Earth orbit, which I don't know if that's where these objects are. It's 10 to 20 centimeters at GEO altitude, which is much higher up than low Earth altitude. So, and yes, Lap 77, that's a lot of Cheerios. I go through a lot of Cheerios. So many Cheerios. So many Cheerios. And it's more when my nephew's here and throws Cheerios at the dogs for fun. Because he thinks it's hilarious. Not Cheerios, she's planting donut seeds. I wish. I wish. Oh my. I cannot sit at this computer with lights on and talking without the dogs thinking that they're going to get Cheerios. Can I, Tinkerbell? She's not even doing her super cute thing. Okay, so I'm not seeing any other questions. I do have to record the podcast version of this and put it all together. Susie is getting her, as an update for fundraising things, we did hit $10,000 by the end of the month. So Susie is at the hairstylist today getting her hair dyed purplish. She said it was a berry color. All right, and more bits. Make it rain. Make it sprinkle for Tinkerbell. All right. That is a new tactic to get kids to eat Cheerios, donut seeds. Yeah, I will have to remember that. I have not seen photos of plastic bits versus a slab of aluminum under vacuum, but Ark says it's very scary. Oh, it's 3 shades of purple like the berry-flavored nerds. Okay, that's super cool. I'm sure she'll put pictures up in Discord. So, yeah, if you're on Discord, you should hopefully be able to see the photos later. So, yeah. I haven't seen any yet. I just know that she went today. Oh yeah, and space is big, so your chances of running into each other are kind of low. Usually. Miss Town says, I need a fresh coat of purple. Yeah, I know, but, you know, things and stuff. It was slightly alarming to have purple all over, you know, my pillowcase, so I'm trying to make sure what's purple now is set, and I might touch up everything else later. Okay. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions, and I do need to go and record the podcast version and do all of that other fun stuff so we can get the podcast version out for those that, you know, are on the move or don't want to listen to my dogs barking, because there are days I don't want to listen to my dogs barking. There is the simulcast tonight. DPI asks, so the collision might as well be a slow and harmless boink. It might be, and our instro can, you know, essentially confirms that. So, Watch it be nothing. Watch everybody get worked up over nothing. Although usually not totally harmless. Thanks, Dave. Thanks. Thanks. Tinker. Veronica's like, but they have it so rough. Alright. Y'all are going on about technical stuff regarding the collision, and I'm like, I don't think it's gonna happen. So, Miss Town says, remember how everyone reacted with the supermoon? I hate the supermoon. I do. I do. Supermoon, for those that have forgotten, is a full moon that is very slightly larger than usual. Like, it's not huge in the sky. It's a very slight change. People that are in informal astronomy education seem to have a love-hate relationship with it. One, it gets people excited to look up at the skies. B, that's the love part. And the hate part, or B, is people overestimate what it's going to look like. And then just, yeah. So. Annie is Lex Munther. I don't even know what that means, Bad Panda Bear. I don't even know what that means. Alright. But yeah. I'm going to head out so I can do everything. Thank you, everybody that has tuned in. This has been a production of PSI. It's Planetary Science Institute, working in collaboration with Youngstown State University here in Youngstown. I think it's cloudy out today, Ohio. Today's script was written by myself and Dave Ballard. Our producer is Susie Murph, and our fearless leader is Dr. Pamela Gay. We are brought to you by you, so thank you for everything. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for literally everything. If you can't afford to subscribe or donate bits or be a Patreon on Patreon or buy merch, that's okay. It's okay. These are the free things you can do to help us out. Follow us on Twitch, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and tell your friends and family and potentially enemies. But tell everyone you know. And yeah, that is all the things. Thank you again. Wherever you are in the world, keep being awesome. Have a wonderful insert time of day here. And I will see you all soonish. Bye.